let's go a little deeper.
Right.
The idea of like God in the middle of bad things happening to good people. Right. I think that is something that's tough. Is like people will be like, man, well, if you serve a good God, if you serve a good God, why does He allow stuff like this to happen? Why does He allow kids to get cancer? Why does He? Your situation is, it looks like you're out of the clear, but you know what I'm saying? Like there might be some things that come up right later, and you got to monitor it.
True.
But like people that don't make it, like how are you going through this like pretty gnarly traumatic event? Like why do you think that this is? Why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? Like what is your experience from this?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really tough question. I don't know that God just allows things to happen. That's just a tough question. There's a lot to it. But I think in my specific scenario, I really look at it as God will be glorified in everything. So I spent some time trying to figure out basically like what is God trying to do with this? And I think He's already worked a lot. Like He's taught me so much that I'm actually thankful that I've had this experience, which is kind of wild. I remember the first time I said that, everyone kind of looked at me in the room like, what are you saying, bro? And I was like, you know what? I came out of this really realizing that my life is not my life and that I'm really just here to serve Him and things like that. And it was really crazy. And obviously I would prefer to not have had this experience, but I think God has taught me a lot. And He's taught me a lot that I can use to serve other people and to glorify Him. And I think another big thing is if He's going to do it to anyone, at least I have Him to rely on, whereas a lot of kids don't have Jesus or things like that. And I have, you know what I mean, something that's the biggest thing to rely on and fall back on and to help me keep going, which is Him. And so I was like, you know what, if anyone should take this burden, it should be me, or it should be someone that I'm close to, and we should be feeling this pain as Christians. We should walk into the suffering and do it with Him instead of trying to walk away from the suffering.
Yeah, that's heavy. I think the flip side of seeing the community rally around you, right? I think everybody just kind of just all of us, I think, kind of being sensitive and aware of like how fragile life can be. You know what I'm saying? So there's been, I think, a lot of good in a weird way that's came of this. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like, just I don't know, like it's a weird thing, but it's you see the blessing in the positive side, minus you being in pain and your immune system and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's been good, and I think like the tough question is why does God allow good things to happen to bad people? Like one side of it is just like we don't know. You know what I'm saying? I love your answer because you're like, look, if there's anybody that can go through this, it's me, because at least I'm equipped and I can handle and I have the faith.
Facts.
How was it like remaining so positive, so joyful throughout this experience?
It was difficult to do, but I think a lot of it I kind of owe to the homies. I think everyone was. I had visitors every day. My mom was with me every day. My girl was with me almost every day. Like, I just had people with me that like, when I got down and depressed those couple of days, it was just like, hey, look, like, this is just, we got to suffer through this. You're going to be cool. Like, just crack some jokes. You know what I mean? It was really like, I owe the homies a lot for helping me get through those really dark times.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, everything is looking good. One of the most hilarious things I thought was when you and Zach Sparazzo shot a video, like day 3 or 4 of you in there to the Biggie instrumental. What was that like?
Man, that was just, we got a gang of songs we're working on right before I went in, and I was trying to drop singles like crazy, a bunch in the summer, all this stuff. And then obviously this happened, and for a couple of days I was kind of just sitting there like, depressed. We were getting a lot of bad news. I was really bumming out, and music has always been the thing that kind of pushed me through, made me feel better. And it was like, you know what, I gotta drop something, just for one, for myself, for my well-being, my mental, but also for everyone else, to kind of let them know like, hey, I'm gonna fight this thing, like we're gonna be good, and I'm doing good right now. And I think that was what I was kind of trying to portraying that. And so I just hit Zach. We were supposed to shoot the video the week before, and some things fell through. And I was like, yo, I don't know when else we can shoot it until the summer. And I was like, pull up to the hospital, bro. Let's just do it real quick. So.
Y'all can see that on his YouTube channel. You said you were sitting on a gang of songs.
A little bit.
So does that mean there's new music on the way?
True. True. I don't know about an album for a little bit, but we definitely trying to drop some singles this summer, a few more in the fall, all that.
Dope. Now, one of the side effects of going through everything you're going through is a lack of appetite. You look very slim, very lean right now. How much weight have you lost?
I lost 26 pounds, I think.
Crazy. Obviously, also you lost your hair from the from the thing, so that's why you don't have a beard. It's not like a rebrand. You know what I'm saying? Zach was pushing that to have you rock it without the beanie on.
Oh my, he was trying to make me. He tried to have me put the mask on. He wanted me looking like I was not about to make it, low key.
Yo, so one of my most popular videos on YouTube is smoking weed a sin, right?
True.
You have a testimony of having smoked a lot of weed when you was younger, and then kind of, God delivering you of that, you moving away from that.
Right.
However, because of the lack of appetite, because of what it's done to your body, you have to put weight on. And they recommended, all the nurses recommended for you to start taking cannabis. You're taking these little mini edibles. Talk about that.
So that was really tough, actually, because the first couple of times the nurses came in, they're like, hey, look, we are federally funded. It's federally illegal, so we can't give it to you. However, you're gonna drop a lot of weight really quick. You're not gonna be hungry. Your stomach's gonna shrink. They're like, when you get out of here, we recommend through all your treatment that you are using weed, basically. And they're like, don't smoke it, because I had some fungus in my lungs. Like, you don't want to be inhaling things. But they're like, we kind of want you to eat it if you can. And so a few nurses came in, and I was like, I don't know. And then even I kind of was like, okay, yeah, I'm down, whatever. And that's like 2 weeks into my treatment. Right. So then I have like another 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I was like, you know what? I'm really not about it. I'm not trying to get back into all this. I don't know. And then another nurse came in right before I left, and she's like, hey, look, like, no, we're serious. Like, you really should be doing it, kind of thing. And I was like, all right, I guess we're gonna do it. So
the irony,
yeah, right? For real.
The irony, like, oh man, I'm good, I'm delivered, I don't want to do this no more. And then they're like, yeah, by the way, check it out. This is the easiest way to get your appetite back up.
100%.
My question at the end of the video was, the question is smoking weed a sin? Is the wrong question. The question is, can you consume marijuana responsibly without violating don't be drunk, right? Remaining sober-minded.
Right.
Having been on the other side of now you're consuming these edibles, these small dosages of edibles, has your perception of marijuana changed? Like do you feel like, is it kind of like you're doing it, it's doing its job, and you're sober, or do you feel like you're crossing a line? Like, talk about, because there's a lot of nuance there.
I think yeah. It's a very interesting question. I think it's a tough line to walk, because there have been a couple times since I started using it where I'm like, I can't drive. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is kind of too much. But for the most part, I try to microdose. You have to. The CBD doesn't necessarily get you hungry enough, so you kind of have to get a little bit high to feel the hunger. So I'm trying to walk the line of like, okay, I'm a little bit high, just enough to get hungry, open my stomach, boom. And so most of the time when I'm there, it's really chill. I can hang out with friends, whatever. I still choose not to drive. I'll have my girl do whatever, but I'm capable of driving, and I'm not, I'm walking sober-minded. None of my friends know I'm high. You know what I mean? Everything is pretty normal. Yeah,
because I couldn't tell. I can't tell when you are, when you aren't. Did it change your perception of marijuana, the other side of using it?
It did a little bit. Yeah. Well, I think I remember it very nostalgically in high school, and I just remember like, oh, get baked with the homies, spend the day chilling, doing nothing. And in that case, so I'm like, that's very not sober-minded. You know what I mean? We were making stupid decisions, all this thing. But then I think now it's kind of changed. Like, okay, you know what? If you measure out, I think smoking is a little harder to kind of tell how much you're getting, how much you're taking in. But when you eat it, it's controlled. You know exactly how much you're taking. I think it's a little bit easier to walk the line of like, okay, you can kind of get high and be sober-minded still, I would say. I would argue for the most part. But it's still just a tough line to walk. But I think medically, it's still so much better. Like when I had the mouth sores, I was on Percocet for a whole week. Right. And I was taking it like crazy. And it kind of dawned on me like, why was I way more cool taking the Percocet than I was the weed? And I realized it was the stigma. Like, the doctor is specifically giving me the Percocet, but when they recommend the weed and they can't give it to me, then it's like, oh, it's weed. I don't know.
It's so trash that they legally can't give you something that's probably healthier, way less addictive because they're federally funded. It's still like a weird little law where like it's legal in the state of California, but you can't fund federally funded hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so goofy. That's really interesting. I think that's really interesting. I think the destigmatizing of it is interesting. By the way, none of us are sitting here advocating for smoking. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what we're saying. We're saying that there is a third option with whether something is good, whether something is bad. There's another way to view it. And in your case, it's been tremendous. Have you been able to put on back some of the weight you lost?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how much I've gained already because we're using 2 different scales. I'm gonna do it, but I've definitely when I got out of the hospital, I was 134, and now last I checked on like Zach's scale, I was like 140.
Oh wow, so potentially 5 pounds.
Yeah, I was like 143 or something. So I mean, yeah, it's work. When I take it, I can eat a lot, which is really helpful. I just try to pound everything down when I'm on it.
Praise God, man. I'm trying to think. Is there anything that we didn't cover? Is there any final thoughts you have? Like what do you like? I don't think we left anything out. But what what's a takeaway you want people to have from this situation? Somebody, maybe they don't have leukemia, but they're going through a tough season. Maybe their body's breaking down. Maybe it's just a rough patch of life. Like, and they're in that space of like, why is this happening to me? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, it's really Jesus, and it's the people around you. They're kind of gonna push you and take care of you throughout that season. And I think I was super blessed to have my church and my family and my friends and even like the fans supporting monetarily and things like that. Like, I was just so blessed and had, on top of all that, Jesus to rely on. That chemo really felt like a breeze for me when I was in the hospital compared to like when just walking the halls and seeing other families and seeing stuff like that. And I was like, man, it's crazy that I kind of have this and that I have this support. And so anyone going through that season, if you can reach out to those people or reach out to Jesus, like those are going to be the biggest things to help you through that.
Yeah, it was wild walking through those hallways and feeling how hopeless some of those rooms felt. You're walking by and people are just alone. And then like you walk into your room, and I don't think I ever walked in and it was just you. I always walked in, there was other people there, there was people coming, there was people going. It was always like dope. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
So yeah, the community side, man. Dope, bro. Well, any final thoughts? Any final application points?
No, man. I'm just thankful to be out of it and thankful to have the support I have. And yeah, if anybody else going through the same thing, feel free to reach out. I know Ruslan is always good about getting back to fans and a very caring dude, and I'm the same way. So if anyone else is going through that, we'd love to know.